Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week number 8 are here. Joining me today to break it all down, we got a special 2-for-1 deal here. We got the guys from the Sorry to Interrupt podcast, Sean Rowe and Tom Bocchino here. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Doing great, man. How are you? Thanks for having us on.
Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Excited to be on. Excited to finally have a Jets team above 500. I know I'm sure you are too.
Oh, I'm thrilled too here. I think we'll start out though with Sean's Giants because they have the better record right now. And let's start out here because obviously last week with the Jaguars here, they have this interesting game down there. They're behind for a little bit. They have the late lead. They almost give it up on the last play. It stopped 1 yard short. They stopped Christian Kirk at the 1 yard line here. So what did you guys take away from that Giant-Jags game?
Well, for me, it was another close Giants win, another game that Daniel Jones led a game-winning drive. It was probably the most disjointed that they were on a final drive, especially coming from the week before when they pretty much took Lamar Jackson to school. But, a couple penalties here and there. But, Mike, I think the biggest difference, and Tom and I kind of talked about it on our pod, was, these are games that the Giants perennially lost. This was a game that I was just counting down the seconds until Jacksonville was able to score that touchdown. And that's kind of what this Giants season has been, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely think it's interesting here. And obviously, on the day of recording here, the Giants do make a trade. They ship Kadarius Toney out of town. It's into Kansas City. They get back a 3rd-round pick for the compensatory round area and a 6th-round pick here. So, Tom, I guess I'll go to you here. What do you think about this trade? What does it say about the Toney pick?
Well, for me, Kadarius Toney has been a real enigma since his time with the Giants. Remember, they made the trade that should have been Micah Parsons, that draft slot to trade with Chicago. Kadarius Toney has all the tools in the tool shed, right? We've seen him be explosive in his very limited time playing, but it seems that he's also a little bit of a head case. And, there were weird reports coming out today. He deleted a tweet saying that he wasn't actually hurt. The Giants were just holding him out, trying to trade him. This was not the regime that drafted him. Clearly, Joe Shane and Brian Dable are trying to create this culture that they want with players that they want. And at the end of the day, to get a compensatory 3rd-round pick will likely turn into a 4th, plus a 6th for a guy that hasn't played at all, I thought was a really good job by this Giants regime. And on top of that, I wonder what you guys think. I think it's going to allow them to pivot to make an acquisition for a receiver, maybe like a Jerry Jeudy or somebody of that ilk, maybe a Claypool, because now they have even more draft capital to work with, and that freed up $1.2 million on the cap.
I'll defer to you, Tom. You can go first on that.
Yeah, I agree with Sean. I mean, Toney, obviously he wasn't let go for the lack of talent, but I think culture is such an overused word, as Sean said it, but I do think it is fitting in this situation just because off the field, Toney did have his question marks, and clearly he could not get on the field. And I just think the Giants are riding such a high right now that they wanted to get any negativity out of that locker room. And again, Sean said it was a previous regime that drafted him, so they don't really have any ties to them. And it frees them up to get somebody in there that is actually going to make an impact on this team, which, bottom line, I don't care how talented Toney is, he didn't make an impact. So if they can go out and get a Jeudy or a Claypool or a Moore or any of these guys that are actually going to make an impact, I think it works out great for the Giants.
Yeah, I think in terms of the trade, I do think it's definitely have to keep an eye on the next couple of days, see if they do try and get a deal done before the deadline for a receiver. But I also want to go back to the process of that trade also, because this is the pick they made after they traded back with Devlin's first ever trade back in his history of draft. They go back from 11 to 20 to take Toney. It's interesting going back in hindsight on this because at the time, if they just sat at 11, they could have taken Micah Parsons. It would have had an incredible edge rusher here. So basically, I laid this out on Twitter earlier, and that in terms of this trade, what ends up being here is that assuming that Parsons is the pick and he was pretty much the clean option here, you basically essentially traded the rights to Micah Parsons for Aaron Robinson because the Giants used that 4th rounder they got in the trade to trade up that year, Evan Neal, Daniel Bellinger, and the 2 picks of the Chiefs. So not a great trade in hindsight, but again, Dave Gettleman's not here anymore, so those mistakes should not be being made at this point.
Yeah,
the
Mike,
guy. I'm sorry, Sean. The guy that made those mistakes is already fired for a million other mistakes. So you can't really dump on the previous regime. You got to take the loss. And unlike the New York Yankees, the Giants cut their losses on the mistake that they made and they moved on.
Yeah, I was going to say there's been a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas with the Dave Gettleman era, and it's nice to just put that to bed here. Tom mentioned the word culture, and culture is a word that we talk about on our pod. It's usually a word that's thrown out there with a lot of losing teams. We're trying to establish a culture as we're 1-5 and rebuilding. That culture word is a lot easier to use when you're 6-1, right? So obviously they have built up the equity. I'm talking about Shane, Dable, and everybody else new in that building to cut ties with the Kadarius Toney type and saying, listen, we clearly don't like the fit here, and we don't care how bad it looks because they walked into a situation where any move they make will look good compared to what Dave Gettleman did. So they move on. He's probably going to perform very well with Kansas City. I wish him nothing but the best. Congratulations. And now it's onward and upward. The Giants have been 6-1 with no wide receiver talent whatsoever, and Kadarius Toney was not going to add to that.
Yeah, that's very true here. And let's look at this week's game, because obviously they're heading out to Seattle, take on a 4-3 Seahawks team. Nobody thought it was going to be this good at this point of the season. A former quarterback on both our teams, Geno Smith, now doing very well out there. I think this is a tricky spot for the Giants this week because they have a good running back, Kenneth Walker. The Giants have some trouble stopping the run. Going out there plays never easy. What do you guys think about this game here, the Giants' chances here?
Tom, I'll let you lead off here.
I mean, and on our podcast, I took the Giants. That was just to get a game up on Sean. I believe Sean took the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks play here with the -3 at home, going into one of the only true hostile environments left in the NFL. I just think that the Giants were the Giants were beating teams that kind of made mistakes. You look at Jacksonville and a few other teams because they're just better coached than these other teams. They're not more talented. The Giants are facing a team that is kind of a mirror image of them at home with the home field advantage, and this team is not going to make mistakes. So I think this is where the Giants win streak comes to an end, to be honest.
Yeah, I made the point yesterday on the pod that this was pretty much, they are mirror images of each other. The Seahawks seem to be the West Coast version of the Giants, where there was nothing expected of them. They're trying to turn the page, reestablish a little bit better vibes in that locker room. Russell Wilson being gone, Geno Smith coming in. They seem to like playing for him. I would not be shocked if the Giants won this game. Obviously, the spread kind of reflects that on a neutral field. This would be a pick 'em. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know how lucky the Giants can continue to get. Yes, they're putting themselves in positions to win. Daniel Jones has played turnover-free football. They've won several games I didn't think they had a chance to win. But, eventually some of that luck does run out, and Seattle's playing with some luck on their own, too.
Yeah, for sure. Let's switch sides of the town here. Let's go to the Jets here because obviously they're 5-2. Nobody thought they would be this good, obviously. They pick up a win over the Broncos, a sloppy win where it's a very defensive game. Zach Wilson didn't make any major mistakes. He didn't play great either. They got the one big touchdown, a bunch of field goals here. So, Tom, as the Jet guy here, what do you think about that, what we saw on Sunday for the Jets?
Obviously, I was happy to get a win. Zach Wilson only completed 10 passes. And, Sean, I believe you had a clip that Zach Wilson said on our podcast where he was like, yeah, nobody should be happy with me. I only completed 10 passes. But he has not made the mistakes. The Denver Broncos are going to get pressure. Their defense is not the reason why they suck. It is their offense. It is Russell Wilson. They have a very good defense, and they have an extremely good pass rush. Zach Wilson was on his back the entire game. I felt really good about the win, but it was one of those wins where it feels like you lost more than you won, losing Vera Tucker and losing Breece Hall. For me, I know we're going to talk about it, but I think Vera Tucker is a much bigger loss than Breece Hall. Incredible rookie year out of the kid. He probably was the front runner for rookie of the year, but we get a Robinson the next day, which I thought was huge. The Jets just turning the page very quickly, showing that this season is serious. We are taking it seriously, going out and getting a former 1,000-yard rusher that's still in his prime. But the Vera Tucker loss for me was huge. He has been one of the best offensive linemen at 3 different positions this year. And I think that's truly going to cost the Jets. It's been a storybook season. If you told me that the Jets were 5-2, I would take it. But now that we are 5-2 and we are where we are, I'm heartbroken over the Vera Tucker loss. I really am.
Yeah, Sean, I want to talk about that for a minute here because obviously they have the two big injuries here. Breece Hall tears his ACL and meniscus. He's out for the year. Vera Tucker tears his triceps. He's also out for the year. Tom did mention the James Robinson trade does help a little bit because him and Michael Carter is not as upside as Hall and Michael Carter, but it's still pretty good. Vera Tucker, he's able to play left tackle, right guard, and all-pro level, arguably the team MVP. That's a very brutal loss. I know they're probably out looking for another lineman here, but like they've had so many injuries on the offensive line. Losing him is a huge blow, in my opinion.
Oh, no, it absolutely is. I mean, he's one of the most versatile and talented offensive linemen in the entire league. So anytime that you lose a player of that caliber, especially with a young quarterback and a good running game, you know, it's going to disrupt things. But I think it does a lot for the morale in that locker room to go out and say, listen, we're not gonna rest on our laurels. We're gonna go out and we're gonna make an addition that we believe can help us. They only gave up a 6th rounder, so it was really no big deal there. James Robinson's had some success in the past. I do want to bring this topic up to you guys though, because even though I am down here in the heart of Texas, I listen to and consume all my New York sports radio, and I was amazed at how many Jets fans call and are like, well, yeah, we're winning, but we're not winning the way like they should. Like, we don't know this about the quarterback. And I'm like, okay, I get that, but like, this is the first time. Like, can't you just be happy? Can't you just be excited that you're winning, even if you're winning ugly? Because you always lost ugly. These games, like that game against Denver was a game you would have lost all the time the last few years, and you're winning that game now. Like, I don't think you need style points when you're coming from where the Jets have come from. And as a Giants fan, I'll kind of speak the same way. I don't care how the Giants win. I'm just enthused that they are winning.
Yeah, I think in terms of that, I think this front face has just been so traumatized over the last decade of like seeing disaster after disaster, especially with the two injured. I think this has sort of put a damper on it, sort of saying like we're winning ugly with these guys. And in terms of now we don't have either of them. Like, is that gonna make it? Is the roof gonna fall off like the building here? Gonna cave in on us? That's I can see the worry in the situation.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely worry.
For me, and Sean and I are both Yankees fans, but I do root for the Mets, but it's Mets fan syndrome. It's like, you're just going to be, and I'm this way too. I fall into this as well, but I am enjoying the season. I'm trying not to fall into this, but it's just a woe is me and everything is going to suck for us no matter what. We can't have nice things. When we should just be enjoying the ride. Because like I said a little bit earlier, if you told me that we were going to be 5-2 at this point in the season, I would be over the moon for it. And at the end of the day, whether or not we're winning ugly or whatever, we're winning games just like the Giants that any other season between, I don't know, now and back to when the Jets went to back-to-back championship games, we would have lost every single year. And I think that goes to the talent that they've drafted over the last 2 to 3 years, and this coaching staff's doing a good job. I mean, there's a lot of things that leave me to be desired with Salah, a lot of sloppy penalties, but at the end of the day, they're 5-2 and they're winning games that every other year they would lose.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. I also think it's also it's going on at the same time as negativity. It's also think because this Elijah Moore thing going on here, where last week he gets pouts and demands a trade, and they've been very handling.
It's so stupid.
It is really dumb, and you can tell that the locker room does not have his back on this. We've seen a lot of like subtweeting from other players about things like this, and it looks like right now things are calming down. They've been like the quarterback can talk to him, the coach staff can talk to him, and obviously with Corey Davis getting hurt, he's going to be worked back into the mix here. I do think like this has the potential to go nuclear. I do give credit to that room and the coaching staff for not letting this become like a big distraction when it could have been very easily.
Well, winning helps too. Winning helps too. If you lose that game in Denver when he doesn't join the team because they told him to stay back east, now you're looking at a situation that could be toxic. And the last thing you need for a young quarterback who's still trying to figure out the NFL ropes is to have a second-year wide receiver barking at him after a great road win why he's not getting the ball.
I do agree with that, but at the same time, I think it was handled so well by the Jets regime because this guy, he's not, a 5-time All-Pro wide receiver. I mean, he had a decent rookie year. You've basically done nothing. Not to mention, like Zach Wilson said, he has not been playing that great. So it's not like even Garrett Wilson or, any of our other wide receivers or tight ends are going off either. We won because of our defense and the running game. So for you to be complaining that you're not getting the ball, well, at this point in the season, we're 5-2. So let's enjoy our wins and not speak out about selfish things like you getting touches, and let's enjoy these wins. And I think they handled it perfectly. There was a report today that he's going to be working out of the slot a lot more, given the Corey Davis injury, and working him in. So I think it was the only way that it could have gone. They tried to acknowledge it as little as possible. They acknowledged it when they needed to, and they said the right thing. And this is going to go away. In the next few weeks, this is going to go away because I think Wilson learned a lesson. And I mean, clearly it was proven to him that he's not going to get what he wants, and that he just needs to keep quiet and keep it moving. We're 5-2. At the end of the day, we're 5-2. I'm going to keep saying it. We're 5-2 as the Jets.
Well, you went through it with Mims too, and he's been quiet and been a good soldier too. So you hope the same thing happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, and they had a massive game on Saturday, probably their biggest game, I think, in the regular season since the 2015 finale in Buffalo. Here, where New England's coming to town. New England is struggling at 3-4. They may have a minor quarterback controversy on their hands here. They got beaten to the woodshed by the Bears on Monday night at home, which was a very bad look here. And this is a spot where, I mean, I'm sure the coach was harping on that the Vegas is favoring the Patriots in this game, despite all the craziness here. They're getting a ton of disrespect at 5-2, and the Patriots have won 12 in a row because the Jets. Richard Seymour called this the homecoming game last year when they went to Foxborough and got their asses beat. So I think this is a prime spot here for the Jets that really want to show their fans it is different here. This is a must-win game, especially because you got Buffalo next week, and you got to go to them in 2 weeks. You cannot lose this game.
I'm in complete agreement with you. After watching the Patriots, I would have went 4-0 with my picks last week if it wasn't for that debacle against the Bears. So, neither Jones or Zappi have impressed. And I think the Jets defense is more than capable of shutting them down, and you can score plenty of points. I think, a 24-10 kind of win, 24-14 kind of win is very, very much there for you.
Yeah, the Patriots are in disarray right now. I know it is a minor quarterback controversy because neither of these guys have proven themselves, but I think it is a little bit more major in New England because not only was it an unforced error from Bill Belichick, which is extremely uncommon, an even more uncommon thing was it was an unforced off-the-field error by Bill Belichick. This wasn't an in-game decision-making thing. This was a talk to the press and then make stupid decisions actually in the game on top of that and compile it. And they are just in an absolute debacle here. And I don't know, the Patriots, I mean, they have a good defense, but if this keeps up, they might go into a free fall here.
Yeah, they certainly will here. And Tom, before we get to the picks, what do you think of the fact that the Patriots are favored in this game?
I understand it. I mean, you just said it yourself. Regardless of the debacle last week, Bill Belichick has won the last 12 against the Jets. The Jets are 5-2, but it is still the Patriots. I like that the Patriots are favored. I want to fly below the radar, and I like getting the 2.5 at home with this quarterback controversy. This is going to be one of our picks. I can assure you that.
Yeah, I think this is one. I think Sean, that like when Robert Saleh was taking receipts, this is a big receipt he's showing to the locker room this week.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, listen, I think they're retiring Jabrickashaw Ferguson's name and number into the Ring of Honor, so that's huge. The Patriots have obviously had the Jets number. I think the Patriots have beaten the Jets, I want to say, every game the last 4 years in a row. Yeah, so, this is not the same Patriots. I know Belichick's still great. I think the line is indicating that, Patriots are just, listen, it's the Belichick factor. I get it, but I think the Jets are the more talented team right now, even with some of the injuries that they face.
Absolutely. Let's get to the picks, the reason why you guys are here this week. So Justin Diaz is here last week for our Team Challengers. He went 2-1 on the week. He took the Giants getting the points in Jacksonville. He won that game. He had the Cowboys laying 7. They covered easily against the Lions. He took the Ravens laying 6.5. They should have covered, and again, they nearly blow the late lead. So 2-1 for Justin. And do not understand, people. Don't pick the Ravens where they have favored that many points because they always find a way to either give it up or make it closer than it should be.
Yeah, the NFL makes no sense this year. I've been saying it all year. I mean, you just have to watch the Bucs game from last week or the Packers game from last week. I mean, it just, this league does not make sense. The only thing that makes sense is that the Bills are good, the Chiefs are good, and the Cowboys have a good defense. That's all that makes sense to me.
And the Eagles are really good, too.
And the Eagles, of course. Yeah, I can't forget to mention the only undefeated team in the league.
Yeah, so that's Justin's picks from last week. My picks, I'll give you the quick summary of how they were last week.
They stink.
0-3 last week for me, so Sean's with you on the Patriots laying the 8. They gave me a stink bomb against the Bears. I had the Colts plus 2.5. I thought they would play well, and then Matt Ryan loses his job after this game. I was at the Dolphins laying 7. They win by 6. I don't get the cover. 0-3 for me.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's tough, man. Tough.
Yeah, it was tough. On the year, Team Challengers is 10-11. I'm 9-12. Not a good start by any means. We got to kind of kick this up here. So we'll go to you guys first as the visiting team here. So where are you going for pick number 1?
Pick number 1, I think we already mentioned. We are taking the New York Jets plus 2.5 at home against the Patriots with the quarterback in a major flux in New England.
Yeah, Sean, any thoughts on that?
No, we agree on this wholeheartedly. We did our picks last night on our podcast. I think, like I just said before, the Patriots are not the more talented team in this matchup, which is really weird to say in a Jets-Pats game. I expect the Jets to beat off the home crowd and get this win.
Yeah, I like the logic as well. I like the pick. We're going with pick number 2.
Pick number 2, Sean and I decided to go. We both took this game this week on our own podcast. We are going with Cincinnati against Cleveland -3. That offense really got going. I understand that Hurts is out for, not Hurts. What's his face? The wide receiver.
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase is out for an extended period of time. I think Boyd's going to step in there and be a really good replacement. He went off last week. Higgins is still there. And I just don't think this Browns team can hang with this Cleveland offense. Sean?
Yep, I feel the same way, my man. It's to me, this Bengals team is starting to click on all cylinders. Losing Chase is big, but they're the better team. Cleveland with Jacoby Brissett just they leave a lot to be desired. And yeah, I think the Bengals are trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I think the one thing that worries you about this game is that, obviously the history factor here with the Browns being home underdogs. The Browns are 3-0 against Joe Burrow, and the fact that the Browns really need this game is they don't get this one. They might be selling pieces off at the deadline.
I expect them to. We've already seen Kareem Hunt's name in trade rumors.
All right, let's pick number 2. Where are you guys going with your last pick?
Final pick, we are taking the Dallas Cowboys -9.5 against the Chicago Bears. I don't care what happened last week in New England. This Chicago Bears team sucks, and this defense is going to murder them. I think Dak Prescott is going to shake off the rust here, and that running game is going to be able to run all over the Chicago Bears. They're trading away everybody and anybody that's worth anything. Sean, what do you think? Same thing?
You know it, my man. I mean, listen, Dallas's defense is playing at another level right now. They're prying on not great offenses, and Chicago is not a great offense. So right now, the Cowboys this is a game they have to win to keep pace in that NFC East chase. Dak will shake off some rust, and I know the number's large, but I would not be surprised to see something in like that 27-10 range, 27-12 range.
Yeah, I stay away from this as a number, but I do get the logic here, especially, Chicago, big win, short week, back on the road again, made a little high on themselves, and they just come out and lay an egg.
That game was such a cool
bad team.
Yeah, sure. Let's go to my picks now here. You guys are on the board. Pick number 1, we'll make it a family play on the Jets. I feel very confident in this game as well because, again, the home crowd, they're going to be fired up after this game. There's a lot of motivational material with the Patriots, like bulletin board stuff. I think the Jets, again, flat out better, and this defense not getting off respect here. The corner duo is elite. Not going to throw the football. They'll stop the run here. I think the James Robinson pickup will pay off in spades. He's a good goal line option here. I think it's a big effort out of the Jets here. And 2.5 is, I'm getting 2.5 points. They're going to win the game outright very comfortably. So I'll take the Jets with pick 1.
It's a great pick.
Yeah, I like it a lot, obviously.
Pick number 2. We're going to go to the other local game. I'm going to take the Seahawks laying the 3 against the Giants here. As kind of laid out earlier, we talked about this game. I think this is a bad spot for the Giants. Again, going out to probably their toughest road environment they've been in this season. Seattle's overachieving. They have a good running game. It's been a weakness of the Giants here. I think this is going to finally be the week where Daniel Jones makes the big mistake and ends up costing the Giants here. I think I'm laying just 3 with the Seahawks at home. I think it's a solid number. I think that Geno's been making enough plays in this game to pull out the victory here. I think it's a touchdown win for Seattle. So I'm going to take the Seahawks laying the 3 in the other local game.
You could flip-flop this pick, honestly. You held a gun to my head. I don't know what I would do, but obviously I like Seattle in this spot too. It's going to be tough, but it's a really tough game to pick.
It's really tough.
Yeah, I like Seattle just at home. I like Seattle because they're home.
Yeah, that's pick number 2. Pick number 3, another home underdog. I'm taking the Rams getting a 1.5 at home against the 49ers here, and I know that 49ers are still very banged up. The Christian McCaffrey trade has fired them up. I know that the owners that Kyle Shanahan has over Sean McVay during the regular season here, but I like the Rams here with 2 weeks to get ready for this game. I like them after getting disrespected at home here. That's going to be a big motivation factor this week here. I think it's another kind of circle the wagon spot for the Rams because they get swept here. It's going to be very hard for them to sort of make a run in this division. I think the 49ers are the favorite right now, even with Seattle's good record here. And I think they're going to have a couple weeks. I think Sean's been in the lab cooking up some things, and I feel like they're going to come out here and win this game outright. So give me the 1.5 with the Rams, the last pick of the week.
I like this pick because they desperately need this game.
Yeah, I like this pick as well, especially coming off the bye week. They truly, truly need this game as the reigning Super Bowl champs. And the Niners, I mean, Jimmy G has been making a lot of mistakes of recent. So I think he's going to make a few more with a little bit of pressure in his face, or maybe a pick or two. I like this pick.
All right, so to reset the picks here, the Sorry Sports team has got with the Jets getting 2.5 at home against the Patriots, the Bengals laying 3 on Monday Night Football in Cleveland against the Browns, and the Dallas Cowboys laying 9.5 at home against the Chicago Bears. My picks, making a family play on the Jets, getting the 2.5 points. The Seahawks laying 3 at home against the Giants, and the Rams getting a 1.5 at home against the San Francisco 49ers. Those are our picks for week number 8. And guys, hard to believe the season's almost halfway over.
Yeah, there's no official halfway point anymore, but it is pretty insane, isn't it? That we're already in week 8. This football season just goes by so fast. And I think what's made it so compelling is that lack of consistency and the fact that you have no idea what you're getting week to week.
Yeah, I mean, next week, I guess, is week 9. I guess technically that would be the halfway point. It's an 18-week season after that, but I do think it's a lot of fun, especially for us where by this time of the year, the last 4 or 5 years, we've all been talking about the mock draft, what quarterback are we taking. Now we're all looking at the playoff picture and what games are important for the Jets or the Giants in a given week.
That time.
All right, thanks for all the time, guys. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, how can people check out the Sorry to Interrupt podcast, and how can they follow us through some of the social media stuff?
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Sorry Sports. We always tweet out the podcast. We'll be tweeting out this one as well. And any platform, Sorry to Interrupt.
All right, awesome. Thanks for all the time, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on, Mike.
Thank you, sir.